Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on and better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
I'm Assistant Chief Wyatt Martin of the Houston Police Department. This critical incident briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Houston on July 23rd, 2022. You're about to see video footage that is related to this incident. HPD conducts thorough investigations into officer-involved shootings. These typically require investigators to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. It is important to note that we are in the very early stages of the investigation. We continue to review additional evidence as it is collected and analyzed. The videos you're about to see can be graphic and may be difficult to watch. These videos may also contain strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. At approximately 2:37 a.m., an officer with the Missouri City Police Department attempted to stop a vehicle that was reported stolen. The driver of the vehicle, Jeffrey Bundrent Jr., refused to stop. Missouri City officers pursued the suspect. Mr. Bundrent lost control of the vehicle and crashed in the front yard of a residence. He exited the vehicle and continued to evade the officers on foot, while a juvenile passenger remained in the stolen vehicle. A Missouri City police officer pursued the suspect to a residential backyard in the 15,500 block of Corsair Road. As the officers approached, Mr. Bundrent discharged a weapon multiple times, striking the officer. Mr. Bundrent then fled the location on foot. Missouri City officers located the injured officer and began to render first aid. The officer was transported to the hospital. With the assistance of Houston Police Department K-9 and Air Support officers, Mr. Bundrent was located in the backyard of a residence in the 15,500 block of Winterbriar Drive. Officers with HPD, Texas Department of Public Safety, and Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office entered the backyard. Mr. Bundrent discharged his weapon at the officers. Officers returned fire, striking Mr. Bundrent. Officers rendered first aid to Mr. Bundrent until HFD arrived. Mr. Bundrent was transported by ambulance to the hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries.
Hey, we're gonna have an officer shot. Yeah. Let me get it. Get my keys. Where's your shop keys?
So for some reason, they refer to their vehicles as shops. I don't know. That's the first time it's not the first time I've heard shop mentioned. The first time was, I believe it was, the HPD video where the officer was working a security gig and the dude swung the table leg at him. There was some radio traffic in the background, someone talking about their shop disabled or something like that. I thought they were talking about a car, but I wasn't really sure. And then in this video, they mentioned shop again and shops, and of course it is very clear that they're talking about vehicles. Again, I don't know why they refer to their cars as shops. It could be like a funny joke thing, like their cars are always in the shop or something. I don't know. But it's kind of an odd terminology for a vehicle. Other places, it's either a cruiser or a squad. If it's a agency that has the cars painted black and white, they'll just refer to it as a black and white. Shop is an odd one. I would like to know the history behind why they refer to their vehicles as shops or a shop. So if you know, please comment. I'm really curious to find out where the hell that comes from. Anyway, moving on.
Watch out. Yes. Get them, we gotta move them. Give it a pin. Yeah. Take it.
Alright, so I'll back that up.
Yes.
Alright, so I love the fact that this dude has the mindset to go get a long gun. The back of the car here, the SUV is where they keep their long guns at. Some places this is how it's done. They just either don't have it in the budget to afford the mounts that go in the cab itself, or it could be people in the administration don't believe in that. There are a few different reasons why there aren't long gun mounts in the cab of a vehicle. And some people will, or some agencies will keep them in the back. Some agencies have lock boxes in the back of the vehicle that can pull out. It's like a pull-out tray kind of thing, and that's where they keep the long guns at. Others just keep them in rifle bags. We see that there's a shotgun in there, but it's not in a bag. And he actually grabs the shotgun, and what maybe looks like a brief consideration of, oh, I'll bring the shotgun, but then seems to say, nah, fuck it, I'll put it back, I'm going to go with the rifle. I'm only guessing that. I don't know if that's what was in his mindset or not, but he's having to get the rifle out of the case, and it's zippered shut. So I do think it's a good idea to have your long gun, if you're going to be storing it in the trunk like this or the cargo hold, to either have it in a padded case or be able to have it in a position to where it's semi-controlled and there's not going to be a bunch of things bumping into it, or it's going to be, sliding left and right and all around within the back as you take turns and stuff like that. Especially for sights and stuff like that on the gun. The shotgun, it should still be in either a case or something like that instead of just being out in the open like that. There's too much stuff or too much room in the back there for that thing to be sliding around and potentially hit the saddle right there and push some of the shells out or whatever. I'm not worried about scratches and stuff like that on tools. The more scratches, the better. It gives it kind of more character or whatever. I'm more concerned about when it comes to rifles, things potentially messing with the sights on it, especially for an optic, or the potential for a bunch of debris to get within the optic itself, because there could be a bunch of stuff in the back of the car or whatever. The potential for something to slide into and maybe scratch the lens of the optic and present a bit of a viewing problem when you try to look through it. Or objects pressing into a pressure pad for a weapon-mounted light and activating that and running your batteries down, or potentially starting a fire if that thing stays on and that light is up against something that could be somewhat easily flammable. So that is a concern with good weapon lights, is they burn really bright and hot, and they can, if they stay on an object long enough, catch some things on fire. They just get so warm. If you're going to be keeping them in the bag and everything, I think it's good to either depending on how the setup in the back is, you can leave the rifle case unzipped, so long as obviously it's going to be sliding back and forth and everything. If you can have it in the back to where it's kind of propped in a position, leave that thing unzipped. That way you can just reach in, pull it out. Be a whole lot better. It's still kind of secured in the bag. It's padded to some extent. But as I said, so long as the bag itself is secured and it's not just sliding back and forth in the back and rolling over and everything, and then the rifle could potentially fall out of the bag. Good zipper pulls with contrasting colors. So get some like neon green cord or something, or paracord. You can get paracord that is like the neon green, like traffic green. It has like reflective kind of stitching in it or whatever. You can get something like that, or some bright color or whatever, and put those on the zippers to make high contrast pull tabs. Like, we're not concerned about this rifle case being all camouflaged or anything. It just comes black. It just happens to be black. It's not like it's black for a reason, like we're going to be concealed with this rifle case or some stupid shit. So I think it's perfectly acceptable to put some type of really bright contrasting colored cord on the zipper pull. That way it's easily identifiable, and you can very quickly reach to it and unzip that thing, versus trying to figure out which side the zipper's on or anything like that, or where they're at. And with that being said, I do think it's important to have the zippers kind of be into the central part of the bag itself, to where it's more visible, versus all the way to the corner or something like that.
You gotta move, bro. Give me the pin. Yeah. Take it. You gotta move, bro. Give me the pin. Yeah. Take it. You gotta move, bro. Give me the pin. Yeah. Take it.
So this looks like it could be some kind of go bag, maybe, or something like that. I'm not really sure. We see a breaching tool right there. Some other bag back in there. I don't see any plate carriers or anything like that. There could be, just maybe not be able to see it. So, with that being said, does he have any additional magazines for this rifle? I don't know. He might have a magazine on his belt. There are some people who carry a spare rifle mag on their belt. It's not something that I recommend. I think that's just adding too much stuff to the belt and add too much weight. What I think is the best thing to do is have a second mag on the rifle. And my preferred way of doing that is having a mag coupler. And that way, when you grab that rifle, there are two mags on board. So you can either do the mag coupler, or you can get a pouch that will affix to the buttstock right there, and it will hold a magazine. That way, if you have to quickly grab that rifle and go, then you've at least got a reload on there. And it would be best if you could grab the go bag that has additional magazines in it and other support stuff, or you're able to don a special vest carrier that would have some additional mags on it and a tourniquet and stuff like that. Sometimes you just don't have the time to do that extra stuff. You just got to grab the rifle and go. And so because of that, it makes more sense to me to have a second mag on the rifle in the event that you just don't have that ability or the time or whatever to grab the plate carrier vest or the go bag or whatever. The extra magazine is not so much to reload in the sense that you want the bolt lock on a 30 round PMag. It is so that if something catastrophic happened to that first magazine, or the bad luck came around that you just didn't know it, but that mag was going to be developing problems, and if it did, then that second magazine, hopefully the chances are you don't have two faulty magazines. And that second mag will be able to fix the issue that first mag is causing, because most of your malfunctions are going to be magazine related. Either you don't lock the magazine in place well enough, which happens a lot, surprisingly, or there's something wrong with that magazine. Now, PMags have been out for a while. I think that they are better than the USGI aluminum mags. I'm sure there has probably been a failure here or there with some PMags, but I have not run into any issues with PMags. I've had issues with used, older USGI mags, but I have not had any issues with PMags, even PMags that have been used a lot. Just haven't had a whole lot of problems with them, or really any problems with them. Even my Glock PMags, no issues with them whatsoever. I keep them in the training box. They're just used for training purposes. But I can't even really think about how many rounds I've fired through them. But, out of all the rounds that I've fired through them, I haven't had any failures out of them. But anyway, in the event that first magazine, there is a problem with it, that second magazine is there to replace it. Get that rifle back in the fight. Now, in the odd event, the 1 in a million occurrence that you do fire all 30 fucking rounds and go to bolt lock, that magazine is there for that emergency reload. That's probably not going to happen. The other reload that is most likely to happen is you do some fighting, you fire some rounds from the rifle, and once you've assessed and scanned, there's no more fighting to be had at that moment, you top off. So you've got that second magazine to put into the magazine well. That way, if a second fight starts, you have a full magazine to start that fight with, versus a partially depleted magazine. So the same stuff that we do for pistols, we should be doing with rifles as well. You want to reload under your conditions. You want to reload when you want to reload. You don't want to be forced into a reload. Moving on.
Hey, with you. What do you got, brother?
You right down here?
Yeah.
We're gonna clear that. Yeah.
The right house?
Yeah, the
left house.
right there.
All right.
Yeah, that's the fucking shot my partner.
Hey, where is the suspect?
I had no idea. My partner that was just shot.
Yeah.
She was running right behind him.
Hey, you do some carbines. Come up on me.
She was right behind him. They going down that way towards that dead end.
So he's got a rifle, and he's telling them, those with rifles or carbines, whatever, to come on. I like the fact that they've got rifles at. That is oftentimes one of my biggest chief complaints when it comes to these type of videos. Officers neglecting to get rifles out. If you know that you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles. Rifles dominate gunfights. They stop gunfights fast and hard. A rifle is more accurate. It has a longer barrel on it, and there are more points of contact on that rifle to further stabilize it and restrict movement so that it can become more accurate. Whereas with a pistol, you have a very short barrel and only 2 points of contact, your two hands. So the littlest amount of movement that is introduced to the gun can cause your rounds or your shot placement to be off. Now, at a very close distance, you may not notice it a whole lot, but as you add increments of distance, it becomes very noticeable. Up close, it could be maybe an inch or two off. Far enough away, it could be a couple feet off, or not even on the target at all. Just a simple pulling of the trigger on a handgun, you can cause that shot placement to go off to the side just by pulling the trigger. Now, of course, that is if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But you get what I'm trying to say there. The terminal ballistics for a rifle are night and day when it compares to pistol. Pistol cartridges just suck. I don't care what you got. 9, 40, 45, 357. They all suck. In comparison to rifle cartridge. Rifle cartridges are just... The terminal ballistics are just devastating. They will very rapidly incapacitate a threat. The kinetic energy that they dump into a target is just... Like I said, it's just devastating. So it could take as few as 1 to 3 rounds from a rifle to rapidly incapacitate a threat, whereas with a pistol it could take sometimes anywhere from 5 to 15 to 20 rounds of pistol to incapacitate a threat. Now, of course, shot placement has a lot to do with it, but even when you do fire into center mass and you get hits into center mass with pistol, you may not even get immediate incapacitation. With rifle, it is more likely to get faster incapacitation than you would with pistol. You fire 2 rounds of pistol into someone's center mass, they might not go down right then. They may still keep fighting. You put 2 rounds of rifle into someone's center mass, chances are pretty good that they're going to drop faster than the same person or the person who is another person who is shot the same way with just a pistol. So they're going to this fight with rifles, and that's great. I love it.
Okay, alright. So what I'm gonna do, fuck it, I can get another dog. I'm gonna get my dog out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you where we last seen him. Okay. Let me lead, that's my partner. Let me lead.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Whatever you need.
Yeah, I like that mindset. He said, that's my partner, let me lead. Yeah. Get some. That's a good fighting mindset right there. The good warrior mindset. I fucking like that, man. Now, I don't know where he was in the beginning of all this, when she got shot. I tried to do a search for Missouri City Police. I didn't find anything on them. I found some stuff in Kansas, but I didn't find them down there in Texas. So I'm assuming they don't have a social media page or a YouTube page that show these videos. I'll try to do some more searching, and if I do, then I'll add it in there. And of course, this what I'm saying now would be a waste of space or a waste of time. But right now, I just don't know where he was during that first initial gunfight. But she's been shot, and he's wanting to be at the front of the line. He wants to be at the front of the spear. He wants to be the tip of the spear as they go after this guy. And that's good mindset. Now, some people would say, oh, he's just wanting revenge. You know what? If it is, so fucking what? Dirtbag motherfucker shot a cop. Shot his partner. Yeah. You're going to have some feelings of, I'm going to get this motherfucker. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. The only thing that could be wrong with that is if you yourself are letting your emotions overwhelm you and prevent you from making logical decisions. That would be the only thing wrong with that. Other than that, if he's wanting to be at the tip of the spear because if the thing has to happen, he wants to be the one to do it, then so be it. That does not mean that he's going to be overzealous. He's going to be going all fucking Punisher on the guy. Doesn't mean that at all. Doesn't mean he's going to go up to that guy who could be standing there, hands in the air and butt naked, and then just go up there and then just fucking butt stroke him with a rifle and keep hitting him until his face caves in. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means that This dude shot at a cop, shot his partner. They're going after this guy, so there's a pretty damn good chance he's still going to fucking shoot at the police. And if he does, then this guy wants to be at the tip of the spear. Because if he has to be forced to do the thing, he wants to be the one to do the thing. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. That's a good fighting mindset, a good warrior mindset, and I wish more fucking cops had a mindset like that. Alright, moving on.
So what? Take out your gun. I gotta move these. Yeah. Get the jump in this. I'm gonna move this. We gotta go. Yes. Move it to the side. Park it to the side.
Alright, so they're talking about moving vehicles.
So we're off of Corsair.
Southwest.
So where the vehicle wrecked is off of Corsair and Maywood.
This is kind of a bad. This is kind of like a recurring bad thing that police do a lot of times. They park their car right in the middle of the fucking road, and end up blocking shit. So like I guess you say it's kind of like a running joke is that like at an apartment fire or at a house fire or something like that. Of course, the police are already out, driving around, so they're going to be the first to get somewhere. And, the kind of running joke is the cops will block the roadway that ends up blocking the fire truck to get to the house or apartment that's burning. And sadly, that happens a lot. The cruiser will be parked in the middle of the road and the officer will be, 2 blocks away and he's got the keys to it and nobody can move it. So it's an unfortunate thing and it happens a lot. And I think police officers need to be more mindful of where they park their vehicle. An ambulance may need to get through there. And it may not even be for the suspect. It may have to be for a fellow officer. So think about your fellow officers. Do you want to block the route of an ambulance? No, you don't want to do that. So if you've got police cars parked on one side of the road and you pull in, you should stick to that same side of the road versus, oh man, there's fucking 6 cars right there. I'm going to go to the left and get to the very front, but I'm going to block the other lane. That's a dick move. That's fucked up. Park your ass behind those other vehicles. So what? You're the 6th or 7th one in line. Oh well, you got to walk a little bit further. Oh well, you got to run a little bit further distance. It's just better that you do that so that in the event some medical crew has to get through there, they can get through there quickly and get to the aid of your partners or fuck, maybe even you. Pulling in the yards and stuff like that, pulling in people's driveways, do it. If you fuck someone's yard up, so be it. Some exigent circumstances. But try to avoid blocking the road. It doesn't fucking help at all.
We're gonna have an officer shot.
Get in with him.
What's there? Make sure you stay so he doesn't come in.
Who shot? He shot?
To the back of the 2604. Get him out the danger area.
Hey, but who has shot her?
Yeah, she shot.
Hey, you got your shot. You got your AR or something?
Yeah.
Get my keys.
Shot. You got your dog coming away. I'll see you probably have it on dog. So y'all looking for there. Stay responsible. We can always get this.
So realistically, they should have played this video first. Let's back it up.
An officer shot.
Get in with him.
So this is the officer that's been shot. and she appears to be getting into the back of a police cruiser.
We had an officer shot.
Get in with him. Get in with him.
Now,
We had an officer shot.
Get in with him. Get in with him.
excuse me, I can't get the fucking freeze frame just right.
We had an officer shot.
Get in with him. Get in with him.
All right, fuck it, I'm not messing with it anymore. So she is getting into the back of the police cruiser, and presumably this police cruiser is going to haul off out of there, lights the siren, going to a hospital. Sure, that works, or it can work. Ambulances are going to be staging some distance away from the scene of violence. So there's also kind of like this running joke that firefighters and EMS are second responders because they stage until the police say it's clear to come in. The response time for an ambulance can be somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes before they even get there. So even when they said officer down, we need EMS, or it's all automatic for the dispatcher to go ahead and notify EMS, it's still probably going to be 5 to 10 minutes before the ambulance gets there. And then, as I said, they're not going to go directly to the scene. They're going to stop some distance away, and they're going to get confirmation that it is safe to proceed forward. So that means that some officer has to tell their dispatcher that it is safe for the ambulance to come forward. And then there's that potential time lag in between the police dispatcher talking to the EMS dispatcher and relaying that information, and then radio communications from the dispatch centers going to the vehicles. And then, depending on how far they parked away, it could be a minute getting there. And then when they get there, if all the fucking police cars are blocking the road, as I talked about earlier, well, then that even further delays their response time. So yes, it can be quicker to throw someone in the back of the police car and go. But what are you doing when you do that? And you do not have anybody in the back seat with them providing aid. You're not really providing any medical aid at all. You're just hauling a person. That's it. When you throw someone in the back of the car and you take off and there's no one in the back helping them, you are essentially providing like 1930s, 1940s level medical technology right there. So modern EMS, the way it is today, really didn't become a standardized thing until the 1970s, where you see, vans converted into being an ambulance, or basically a big box strapped to the back chassis of a like a large truck, like an F-350 truck with a bed truck removed. Just put the big box on the back. Ambulances like that did not exist back then. What was used back then were hearses. And before there were ever medically trained people riding in the back of this hearse, the way, I don't know if you can't even really call it EMS back then, but the way people were transported from the scene to the hospital was, in a lot of places, the funeral home would be called, because they had a hearse. And the hearse is made to hold people laying down. It has a stretcher that can fit in the back, right? So, funeral homes were often called to the scenes of accidents and stuff like that. And they would put the person in the back, and the hearse driver would haul ass to the hospital. But no one was in the back doing anything. It's just fucking dude laying in the back, right? And they get to the hospital, and the doctors and all that would get them, take them in. So once they got to the hospital, if they were still alive, the hospital took them. If they were dead, well, I'm assuming they just left the hospital and continued on to the fucking turtle home. Because where else is they going to go, right? And then it evolved into people riding in the back of the hearse with the injured people and providing some level of care. And in some places, it evolved into, hospitals providing training people who could go out with these hearses, or the hospitals would buy a hearse and create an ambulance of sorts. So you'd start seeing hearses equipped with flashing lights. Actually, one of flashing lights, so there's a big ass bubblegum rotator lights. So you'd see that, and like the big signs on them and everything, and you start seeing these things painted white and red. And then I'd say, at some point, the hearse manufacturers started building ambulances because they were seeing that, their hearses were being converted for an ambulance use, and so money-making idea right there, right? So they started making turnkey solutions so that, these entities didn't have to waste all this time converting a hearse into an ambulance. They just made the ambulance for them. And so that's where your first ambulances came from, was a hearse. And so there's actually a lot of cool hearse ambulances still out there, like as collector items and stuff. They're pretty cool, pretty neat to look at. But that, of course, morphed into vans and stuff being used as an ambulance, and then specialty-made rigs. You take in the truck like an F-350. You just take the truck bed off the back, and you put the big box on the back that would be the ambulance part of it. But anyway, long story short, just having someone in the back and then taking off with them is the same shit they were doing back in the 1930s. It's not very good. At least you're taking them somewhere quickly, but it's a lot better if you have someone in the back providing care. Someone in the back providing care improves their chances of survival. So with pre-hospital trauma care, there are two terms relating to time and those increasing people's chances of survival. The first term is the Platinum 10. So within the first 10 minutes of a person incurring some type of traumatic injury and receiving pre-hospital trauma care, that can increase their chances of survival by X amount %. The Golden Hour is the other term. The Golden Hour, which, it's an hour's time frame, of a person incurring traumatic injury and receiving pre-hospital trauma care and being delivered to a hospital within an hour increases their chances of survival by X amount of %. So by them, of course, throwing them in the back of the car and getting to the hospital, yeah, that's going to increase her chances of survival versus waiting for the ambulance to get there. But if you can have someone in the back, that then further increases chances of survival when someone's in the back providing care. Now, when it comes to pre-hospital trauma care for fights, for combative injuries, battlefield type of injuries with small arms, stuff like that, the best thing to be following, in my opinion, is TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. Now, most police agencies, most security companies are going to, at a bare minimum, have their people trained in CPR, AED, first aid. And that could come from Red Cross, American Heart, or any other, CPR, AED, first aid entity. The first aid curriculum from those entities is not all that great. It's useful information, it can be beneficial, but in terms of pre-hospital trauma care for small arms injuries, it's lacking a lot. The first aid component of those kind of classes is very broad and covers a lot of stuff. It goes over environmental emergencies such as heat injuries, cold injuries, how to treat frostbite, what is frostbite, heat stress, heat injuries, how to cool a person, what to use for rehydration. Goes into how to assist a person taking their inhaler or their auto injector for epinephrine, how to recognize certain hazards like hazmat kind of stuff. So like you see a barrel turned over and people are collapsed, then it's a sign that you probably shouldn't walk over that area because there's probably a gas floating in the air that you can't see. So it's kind of like scene safety stuff. And then the trauma portion of it, it just goes into how to take a bandage and wrap a wound on an arm, some basic splinting, how to put an arm in a sling, etc. It does not go into any stuff about chest seals. It doesn't talk about tourniquets. Now there is a video that can be played for tourniquet. I know for sure for Red Cross, but it's an optional video. It's not even included in the main presentation itself. There's no information on how to insert a nasopharyngeal airway or any of that stuff that you want to know about. It just doesn't cover that. It's very basic first aid stuff, like basically like boo-boo shit. Like, I cut my hand with a letter opener. Oh damn. Basic stuff like that. To be able to treat gunshot wounds, stab wounds, stuff like that, you need to have a higher level of training than CPR AD first aid, or the first aid component from those classes. You need to have something at the level of TCCC to be able to provide good level of care. Personally, I think it would be awesome if police officers could be cross-trained as EMTs. That way they would have a good foundational knowledge of medicine and how to, number one, treat themselves in the event that something happens, but then to also treat people out in the public. A lot of times police will arrive to the scene of an accident 10 minutes, sometimes 15, 20 minutes if it's a very rural area, before a fire truck gets on scene or before an ambulance ever gets on scene. So that, to me, would make a whole lot more sense to have police officers cross-trained as EMTs. But, of course, that's a budget issue, and especially for places that have been defunded, they would have an even harder problem trying to do that. But you got to have the knowledge on how to treat these injuries. Because it could be you. You could be having to do self-aid on yourself. It could be your partner. You could have to be trying to save your partner's life. You need to have that level of knowledge. So if the only thing your employer does is provide to you a CPR AED first aid class, number one, they don't truly give a fuck about you. And number two, if you can't recognize the fact that that class is not enough, then you're kind of ignorant. And you need to be seeking out higher level of training. If that means you got to pay out of pocket, then damn it, pay out of pocket. It's your fucking life that you're talking about. It's the life of your coworkers, the ones you like at work. Your work friend, your work wife, work husband, whatever. What if one of them get hurt? Don't you want to be able to save their life? Don't you want to be able to do something besides hold their hand and say, stay with me, stay with me? Yeah, you want to be able to do something. Like, that would suck to have to sit there and hold their fucking hand, and the only thing you can do is stay with me, as they bleed to death. That's unacceptable. I am a firm believer that if you're going to carry the tools to induce trauma, you should carry the tools to reduce trauma. If you carry a gun for a living, then you should recognize the fact that you could be involved in a gunfight, and gunfights have bullets go both ways. It is a two-way range. You could be shot, your coworker could be shot, or your friend's family could be shot. You should know how to take a life and save a life. Be very well-rounded. If all you know how to do is shoot, but you don't know how to treat injuries, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. You need to unfuck yourself. And I mean that in the most sincere way. Alright, moving on.
Who's that? Who's that?
Back in 2604. Get him out the danger area.
Hey, but who was shot? Her?
Yeah, she shot.
Hey, you got your shot. You got your AR or something? Get my keys. Get my keys.
You got your dog coming your way. Also, you probably have your own dog. So y'all looking for there. Stay responsible. We can always get in there. Got locked up.
Yeah.
You should be moving cars.
Hey, move the car forward.
4 o'clock for the units on course there.
Hey, get there. They gotta move it. Give me the keys.
Yeah, take it.
Yo, make a hole. They're coming out with one. What is your location? 24 there. No, they come.
I don't know what's freezing on me like that.
What is your location? 24 there. No, they come over here. I'm getting report there. I'm sure you see he's going to be coming out with the opposite shot. No.
Yeah, hey, we just got here.
You just confirming there is another.
Hey, where are they at?
They're going down that way towards that day. Okay, alright. So what I'm gonna do, I can get another dog. I'm gonna get my dog out. Yeah. I'm gonna show you what we last seen. Okay. Let me leave. That's my partner. Let me leave. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Over. Yo. Go ahead, Joe. Shit, he snapped off. Here. Yeah.
Alright, let's back this up. So we got a canine officer here, and they come across this fence.
Yo.
And then the light turns off.
Go ahead, Joe.
I get the feeling that he lifts his dog up and puts him over the fence, but we just can't see it. Because you see the dog at first, and then, boom, dog has disappeared, and his leash is in between the fence door and the
Joe.
Or they open the door. That's probably more likely what's going on. Yeah, so that happens really quickly. So it looks like they opened the door, and the dog went in, and his leash caught the door, and it caused it to shut. So that makes more sense. So the door shuts, and you see the leash in between the door and the rest of the fence. So the dog's in there by himself. But the dog don't care because dogs are fucking badass, right? But the dog's in there by himself. And boom.
Shit, he snapped off. He snapped off.
When he says he slipped off, I'm assuming that, of course, he came to a hard stop. Leash couldn't go any further, and it could be that the dog's collar slipped off.
Shit, he snapped off. He snapped off. Here.
Immediately upon entering, he takes contact. So when they first opened the door, of course it was dark. Now, from the street, I imagine once they opened that door, some amount of street light could be shining through, and even then, the fence itself, the slats right there, with some of that light coming in, I'm sure that guy had to have seen them moving on the other side of the fence. Had to have. So he was seeing them before they ever came through. He knew that, one, he knew they were there because when they started shining their light, of course that light's going to shine through those cracks. If that guy wanted to, he could have started shooting through the fence at them. But I'm assuming that he probably thought that they didn't really know he was there, based off, obviously, the behaviors, because they weren't saying, "Hey, you!" blah, 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 right? They were just on the other side, they're talking, kind of, somewhat nonchalantly, like there's no, stress to their voice, they're not speaking hurriedly, like, "Oh, no, there's someone on the other side of the fence, blah, blah, blah." So he probably thought that, they for sure, they don't know exactly where he's at, they're just looking around, blah, blah, blah. He probably thought that if he stayed still, they wouldn't find him, they might move on. They opened that fence, and when they did open that fence, there was no lights turned on. But even with them opening the fence, I still think that guy probably could have seen them. And the dog went in, and he didn't shoot right then and there. He could have started shooting, but the dog wasn't barking or anything like that. So there's a possibility he may not even notice the dog had slipped in there, or if he did, then he thought, "Oh great, this dog can't smell me, or this dog doesn't know I'm here, he's not doing anything. So again, if I don't do anything, the dog will bark and they'll just move on." That could be what he was thinking. Don't know for sure, but it could be.
Shit, he snapped off. He snapped off.
But now that they opened the fence and light, a full amount of light is shining through, not just, light shining through the cracks, obviously this guy now knows they're coming in after him.
Here.
And you can see, right in here, you can see muzzle flashes as the officer moves in.
Snapped off. Here. He snapped off. Here.
Yeah. So this officer immediately reacts to contact. Weapon light comes on, and he starts shooting. Now, it's kind of hard to see because it happens so quick. And then stupid-ass fucking strobe light turns on. I do not agree with strobe lights on weapon lights. I'm not a strobe light guy. I know some people are, they believe by it. Me, I'm just like, fuck strobe light. Especially on a weapon-minded light. Now, for a patrol light, okay, it can be useful, especially for signaling purposes or something like that. This whole mindset of, oh, you can use a strobe light to disorientate the person, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't. No, I'm not a believer in that. I'm not a proponent of that. You can see him. He's on the other side of this chair right there. Boom. There he is right there. So they popped him, and he has fallen onto this bench right here. So there you see his arm, there's his leg, there's his upper body. Now you can tell his voice, it's cracking. You can tell he's emotional.
Check the bag. Let your hands! I got it. Shut up! I got your hands! Let your hands!
Now I suspect that some of that emotion could be for the dog. That's what I think is probably going on. The dog had released. The dog went towards the guy. They're shooting. Lots of gunfire going off. I think it's possible that this guy thought, worst case scenario, that his dog has probably been shot. And I think that's why we hear his voice cracking, because he's yelling, here, here, here. But the dog does not immediately come to him. So he could be thinking, shit, my dog just died, or my dog's shot and is dying. Canine handlers can develop a very strong bond with their canine. And that's natural, right? I mean, it's a dog. There's a reason why dogs are known as man's best friend. A very strong relationship can be built there. Very strong bond. So yeah, totally acceptable in my opinion for him to have a cracking voice like that. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he's just now been involved in a gunfight. I think that he was just legitimately worried about his partner. Moving on.
Are you good? Yeah. You good? Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Here.
Right there.
Shit, he's not up. Yeah, he's not up. Here. Ceasefire! Here! Here! Lift your fucking hands! Hands! Lift your hands! Hands! Shit, he's not up. Yeah, he's not up. Here. Ceasefire!
So we see multiple shooters, or multiple shots fired. We know for sure K9 shot, this guy shoots, and I think one guy gets in there with a rifle and does some shooting. And then we see a fourth person come in, he's got a rifle as well.
Lift your fucking hands! Hands! Lift your hands! Hands! Lift your hands! Hold on. I don't see the... Lift your hands! I got a gun. Shut up! I got your hands! Lift your hands!
This is lagging.
Hands! I got a gun. Shut up! I got your hands! Lift your hands! I got shield. Holster it up, I'm going close. Hey, drag him back. Drag him back. By his feet, flatten him out. Are you good? Flatten him out. You good? Hold on, slow down. You alright, bud? Holster it up, I'm going close. Hey, drag him back.
So they're saying drag him back, get him out, pull him away. I like that. Instead of just trying to get in there, come where he's at the way he is, drag his ass away from where he's at. That way, I don't think he's conscious at any point of this right here, but if he is, at least dragging him back and him falling down on the ground is going to reset his OODA loop.
him out.
I like that he's using a sling instead of handing his rifle off to someone. I've seen that too many times in videos, officers handing their rifles off to people. I've talked about it before. That just shows to me that, you know, the people who hand their rifle off to someone, that just means they haven't had proper amount of rifle training. Proper amount of rifle training means that you should be utilizing your sling whenever you're not shooting. So you should become very useful, or very used to using your sling. So he's using his sling to retain the rifle to his body, and then being able to go hands-on.
Are you good?
He grabs the guy by the feet, and then basically just yanks his ass off the fucking bench.
Let him out. You good? Hey, slow down. Slow down. You alright, bro? You good?
Everybody give us a heads up. Officer, okay, what's your status?
I'm fucking.
242.
I went back. I didn't know you was coming in. Sorry, bro. He's good. He's good.
Me, personally, I would not be getting too close to the canine officer with the dog right there. The dog is very protective of their handler. Again, that bond is so strong. So I'm always cautious being around a handler and their dog, because I know the dog is thinking of his buddy, right? His best friend. He's thinking about protecting him. And any fucking sudden movement around him, and he perceives that as a threat, the dog's going to do what the dog's going to do. He could bite your fucking ass. So I recommend always being cautious around canine guys. Like, don't come up to him too close, pat him on the back. The dog doesn't know that that's showing affection. The dog doesn't know that at all. The dog just sees your hand touching them very suddenly, making a sudden movement, and they could think that's an attack on them, and they could act on that.
Is the dog good?
Yeah, he's good.
God damn it.
Don't hit behind a dog like that. I don't recommend doing that shit either. You see that dog is not really liking that.
He good, bro.
Somebody get on that street where they're at in the shop, please.
Everybody get close? Put him on.
Yeah.
Get him over. You got it, Okay. Alright. Gonna take a breath. Let him know.
842, let me get you an address. We do have one suspect down.
So these chairs right here, they can be thrown out of the way. There's no need for them sitting there. The guys should just grab them and pull them out of the way, make as much space here as possible, because they're going to need the space.
Hey.
One suspect down, HFD. Let me give you an address. Hold on.
Officers, everybody go.
So this bucket right here, for this, it would work. I would take that bucket, and I would put the patrol light in that bucket with the beam pointing up and set it inside that porch area. That way that beam would hit the ceiling of the porch, and the light would come down off of reflection and light the rest of the area up. Call that umbrella lighting. If you ever see people wearing helmets and they've got a flashlight on the side of the helmet and it's pointed upwards, that's umbrella lighting. So if you're indoors and there's no lights on, instead of wasting your rifle light or your pistol lights, you can click that light on that's on the helmet, and that flashlight is pointed upwards, and it hits the ceiling, and light rains back down on you when it reflects off the ceiling like that. So just put a patrol light in the bucket and move the bucket over there, and it's going to light up that area a lot better. Or you could prop it up on something over there and do the same thing. But I think this bucket right here is probably a trash can. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that would be the best thing to do.
He's good. Hey, keep on the run. Make sure he's
I did. He's good.
Give it here, fellas. All of our officers are okay. All of our officers are okay. We did find the suspect. He did shoot at us. He is down. We are at Fox. Can you give us an address over here?
Good boy.
Okay, I see the shop with like the mattresses laying on the ground. Is that it? Because I don't see the suspect, but I see you at the shop. You're behind.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. Let's back this up.
That is, because I don't see the suspect, but I see you at the shop. You're behind.
Oh, that is gold. So, you can see in the captions at the bottom of the screen that they're talking about the address, but they're muting, or not muting, but toning out the audio so that you can't hear it. That's fucking stupid. So a lot of times agencies will censor out addresses of like people's homes and stuff. So that's that's why you hear the censoring tone in the background. But whoever did this completely fucking forgot to take out the captions.
Okay, I'm watching you right now.
Hey, let's start first, Dave, man.
Do my bugs.
Hey, do we have to clear that backyard or are we good?
I've got knife back, but I want bugs.
Disregard that address. Disregard that.
Anybody got a Medicaid?
Here.
Here you go.
I have compression bandages.
So someone had mentioned earlier that they have an IFAC but no gloves. That's wrong. So if you have an IFAC, then you should have gloves. You should have gloves inside the IFAC. And you should also have gloves on you, regardless. You should be carrying, at minimum, 2 pairs of gloves. You can get a glove keeper for the duty belt. It does not take up hardly any space at all. Just a few inches width-wise. That's it. It goes to the small of your back, which you're not supposed to have, anything else in the small of your back anyway. At least not in the sense of, bulky cuff cases or anything like that. So a glove pouch would be perfect to take up that little space in the small of your back because it's not going to cause a spinal injury if you fall on your back. It's so thin and soft that it wouldn't do anything, unlike a big ass cuff case or whatever. So there's really no reason why you shouldn't have gloves on you. You should always have gloves on you. So many people that you come across, having bodily fluids on them, keeping evidence safe from being contaminated by you, whatever. Like, you should have gloves on you. So the fact that there's so many officers out there that I've seen in these videos that just don't have gloves, like, I have to ask, like, where the fuck have you been your whole career? Like, have you been hiding on all calls? Have you not come across people covered in fucking puke and piss and shit and blood? Like, why are you not carrying gloves on you? Like, why are you more fucked up than a football bat?
That's clear. Stand by.
Heel state goes.
What do you guys want to take and clear this weapon?
More gloves.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Sorry, just hold on.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do for the face. We got probably a sucking chest wound on the backside. Put him on.
So he mentioned his face. He said there's not much you can do about his face, so that tells me that he's probably got a gunshot wound to the face.
Face. Chest seal. Yeah, give me a chest seal. Couple of them. Yep. And clear those. Space out behind.
Now, with that being said, a gunshot wound to the face or the head, most people, I think, would probably think that means the person's dead. They're not coming back. That's not so much always the case. Sometimes people can be shot in the face or the head and they still survive. There's actually been quite a few people who've been shot in the head with a pistol and they lived. There was one story that I remember hearing about. It was on a TV show, not like a fake TV show, but like one of those. I can't think of the name of it. But a guy, he had been shot in the back of the head. He was walking down the sidewalk, literally minding his own business, and it was probably just a stray round that hit him, or it could have been someone who wanted to kill him. But he said he was walking, and he went unconscious, and next thing he knew, he woke up. He was on the ground. There was a little bit of blood on him and his head hurt. And I want to say, I think that there was a brick laying by too. So he thought that someone threw a brick at him and hit him in the head, and he didn't think anything of it, or any more of that. So he went home, and headache didn't go away. Head was really, really hurting. Ended up going to the hospital and taking an X-ray, and lo and behold, there's a fucking bullet in his head, in his brain. And he was so lucky that the bullet entered into his head, went into his brain, did not hit anything super critical or anything like that. And I remember that the bullet is still in his head because there was just too much risk of causing damage to even attempt to remove the thing. Other people have been shot in the head and have survived. There's been people who tried to kill themselves, shot themselves in the head, they end up living. So just because someone's shot in the face or the head does not mean that they are dead. Now, with that being said, if they've been shot in the head with a rifle or something like that, and there's a chunk of their skull completely open, and you can see brain matter scattered all over the place, or you can look inside the skull and see that the brain is gone. Sometimes long guns can cause the brain to eject from the cranial vault. So in an obvious case of death like that, then yeah, I don't think that rendering medical aid is going to be worth your time, because they're obviously dead. And when it comes to choosing not to provide care, it's generally accepted that it is okay for you to not provide care if there are signs of obvious death. And obvious death would be something like the person is in a state of decay, decomposition. There's rigor mortis. They're decapitated, they're cut in half, or like I described, the head wounds, like their head's cracked open and half their fucking brain's gone, or all their brain is out. Or when it comes to like CPR and stuff like that, you can stop providing aid when you are physically exhausted or the scene becomes unsafe. But other than those obvious signs of death, it is expected that you provide medical care. So even though he's been shot in the face, they're still going to render aid to him because they're not doctors. They don't have an X-ray machine or anything like that. They can't exactly see where the bullet's at or anything like that. They just have to treat what they see. Now, when it does come to medical triage and you are having to deal with a mass casualty incident, then the simple fact of someone just laying on the ground not breathing, that could be an indication to you that you are able to skip that person and go on to the next, because wasting your time on that person could cause 3 more people to die because you're not getting to them quick enough. So in cases of obvious death or in mass casualty incidents, those are the only times you can skip providing medical aid to someone. Otherwise, some could be some kind of civil action taken against you. Now, when it comes to the med kits, you'll notice that they're having to shine their flashlights around. I am a big believer in keeping headlamps in trauma kits. So if you have a trauma bag, you got an IFAC or whatever, I think that it is a really great idea to get yourself a headlamp and put it in there. That way, if you have to get that thing out at night, you've got a headlamp. And you can put that thing on, click it on, and keep both hands available to provide aid. Otherwise, if you don't, how are you going to see? What if you're by yourself? Are you going to be holding the flashlight in one hand and trying to do stuff with the other? Not very likely. Are you going to put the flashlight in your mouth? It's not a good idea. Even if you have a small pocket light to be able to do that with, for one, that hurts after a while. Holding an object in your mouth like that. And secondly, you're going to have to talk at some point. You're going to have to answer your radio. So you can't just reach up and click your microphone and be like, no one's going to understand what the fuck you're saying. So you're going to have to take that light out. And if you've been touching that person and you got blood in your hands and you reach up to your mouth and your nose to grab that light, that's not a good idea. You don't want to get your hands that close with blood on them to that. And then when you grab that light and you do your talking, what are you going to do with that light now? I hope you don't stick that thing back in your mouth. So, could you maybe have a light tucked into your armpit? Yeah, that could work. But that arm is going to have to be keeping enough pressure to keep that light tucked into your arm. You still do so with the other hand, but you may not have that same range of movement as your other hand. So the best thing, like I said, is to get a headlamp and put it in your med kit. You can get a cheaper headlamp, but I recommend that you spend the money and get a good headlamp. Even if you don't get a good headlamp, then I still recommend that you spend the money and get lithium batteries. Reason why I recommend lithium batteries is they have a longer shelf life. After 10 years of just sitting on the shelf, not being used, or sitting in something and not being used, it still has a 70% charge in it. They work good or better during cold temperatures, and they are very less likely to leak like a normal battery. So even if you go the cheap route and buy a cheap, Walmart headlamp, at least put some lithium batteries in it. That way you don't have a headlamp that has a bunch of regular batteries in it that's leaked the acid everywhere, or it's cold weather and those fucking batteries just aren't discharging good enough to make the light work as well. Alright, moving on. Unfortunately, I see too many people without a rifle.
Are we going the direction where that's at?
Yeah.
How far?
He said Fallbriar, Winterbriar. Hey, shield coming up, shield! Hey, shield coming up, shield!
Hey guys, who just went into this fucking gunfight and smoked the fucking dude without a shield. Hey guys, I'm coming up to bring a shield. So I've said before that I have kind of some mixed views on the shields. I almost think it's just safe for me to just come out and say that for the most part I think shields are fucking stupid. Now the shields, the big fucking shields, they're like you put them on a platform with wheels. Those for like SWAT teams and stuff, moving indoors and stuff like that, having to move into heavy contact or whatever. I think those could be useful. The shield, the little shields, I don't care for them. I really don't. Number one, you have to hold the damn thing with one arm, one hand. And so what that means is you are now forced to have to basically use a pistol with that thing. I mean, you could try to wield a rifle. You can certainly shoot a rifle one-handed, but it's not going to be as good as doing it with, two hands. A shotgun, if it's a pump shotgun, that's a little out of the question at that point. It's going to be very difficult to operate a pump shotgun when one hand is holding a shield, right? You could use a rifle, but it's just not going to be very accurate at that point. So you're pretty much forced with having to use a pistol. So you are taking a pistol. You're if you got the shield, you're probably at the front, right? If there's multiple people, that means you're going to be at the tip of the spear, going into a gunfight with a pistol. No, you want to go to a gunfight with a rifle, not a pistol. Rifles stop fights better than pistols. Rifles outperform pistols. The other issue that I see with a shield is that so many times it's just one person who's benefiting from the shield. And you'll see that person at the front of a stack or whatever, front of the group, he's covered by the shield. Now, part of him is still hanging out to the side of that shield so he can aim his gun. So he's probably 75, 90% covered. The other people behind him, that second person, or that one person that's going to be behind him, the second person in the stack, they're going to be a little bit further out behind that guy. And so now they are probably only 75% covered. That third person in the line, they're going to be sticking further out behind two other people. So they're probably going to be 25 to 50% covered. Then when you get to your fourth and fifth person, they're pretty much going to be 100% uncovered by that shield. Because you can't have everyone single file line behind that shield, or else no one else will be able to provide lethal cover, or at least have a field of fire, because they'd be shooting into the back of the other person, right? So there has to be like a wing formation, right? A wedge formation in order for the rest of the people in that stack to get fields of fire. So that means that the further you go back with people, the more those people are going to be exposed. And it's just so many times you see videos of people holding these shields, and it's usually just one person holding it. There's probably one person behind them, and everyone else is out to the side, not even covered by the thing. So in that sense, they're kind of useless. And the fact that you're having to be practically forced into taking a pistol to a gunfight, that makes it even worse. The only added benefit that a shield can provide is it can provide rifle protection. Whereas your standard police vest all across the U.S. Most commonly is going to be a soft armor vest that is not capable of stopping rifle rounds. There's some agencies and officers out there that do have plates in their vests, or they just wear plate carriers to work. Those, of course, can stop rifle, but your standard patrol vest that the majority of police out there wear is soft armor, and so that will not stop rifle at all. So that's the only true benefit to a shield, is it can stop rifle, but you're so at a disadvantage with being forced to have to use a pistol, and the fact that no one else really gets the benefit from the shield being completely behind it. It's just almost practically useless in my opinion. Instead of spending the money on shields, I think the money should be spent on better armor. Get some plates. Get some FRAS from Safe Life Defense, the flexible rifle armor system. Get that. That can stop rifle rounds. And when you hold the shield, it's only covering your torso anyway. I mean, you do have that viewport that you can look through, but that thing is so short anyway that it's not even, a lot of time, the person's face and head being covered because they're holding it so low. So the shields, it sounds great in idea. And then in some applications it can be useful, but overall, I think it's just a waste of money and a waste of hand space. Like, you're carrying around all this weight, and it's just not enough juice for the squeeze, in my opinion. Number one thing, the biggest thing is you're basically having to be forced to take a pistol to a gunfight. And having to shoot that damn pistol one-handed. So now your accuracy is cut in half because of that. Like, those are not good odds for a gunfight right there. One, you're taking a crappy cartridge that doesn't have as good incapacitation power as a rifle, and you're not able to make this thing as accurate as possible because you only hold it one-handed. Alright, moving on.
Shield coming up! Shield!
Hands! Loose your hands!
Shield coming up!
Loose your hands!
So see what I mean by the space right there? So even if he was going to be sticking his face right here and trying to cover his face with the shield, there's not a whole lot of space right there. So depending on the angles, a person's top of their head could be... So they're talking about lights. So what I mentioned earlier, umbrella lighting. They're under a porch. All anybody has to do is stick a patrol light in this bucket and move it there, and they're going to get a good amount of light. And the people who are using trauma kits, if they had headlamps in there, they wouldn't have an issue with lighting. But someone finally has the bright idea to say, hey, let's turn the porch light on. So some amount of time has expired here. I don't know how much, but an officer has obviously gone inside and made contact with the people inside. So that's obviously a good idea, especially, shooting around structures. Bullets can easily go through walls. So you need to go check in on people who are inside buildings, because a bullet could have gone through the wall and hit somebody in there and they could be bleeding out. And so while you're out here wasting all your medical gear on a bad guy who shot a cop, there's someone out inside that building bleeding out. And I would much rather give them the medical gear versus the bad guy who just shot a cop.
Am I behind here?
Oh, hey, Tucker.
Yes, sir.
See you turn porch light on.
Okay, pressure is all we can do for that wound. Anything else?
We got another chest seal, more tourniquets if you need it.
Clear. Anybody got gauze?
Gauze, stand by. I got some more bandage on.
Nothing in his face?
So where they're at, of course they get probably on a concrete porch right here. They do have outside furniture. You can use your environment to your advantage. One, if there's grass nearby, I would recommend, to make it more comfortable for you and to save your knees, drag that person into the grass. Now I don't know about you, but like, I have a limited amount of time I can be on my knees. Over the years, I guess I just got, I don't want to say bad knees, but my knees aren't the same as they were when I was, 20. So being on concrete on my knees, it's excruciatingly painful for me. So I have done that before. I've dragged people into the grass so that I can plant that knee in the grass, or I will look around in my environment and see if there's something I can use as a knee pad. And in this environment, there's outside furniture, so you could very easily say, hey, grab that seat cushion off that seat over there, and then use that as a knee pad so you can save your knees. People's shoes. I've used people's shoes before to use as a knee pad. Like, they don't need them right now. So yeah, I have. I've taken a person's shoes or flip flops, and I've used those as a knee pad for me while being hands on with them, and that allowed me to stay in my position a lot longer versus if I wouldn't have had. If I didn't have anything padding my knee, I wouldn't be lasting long on the ground, because it just, for me, it's excruciatingly painful.
Hey, is it clear for HF?
And I guess because I can't be on my knees that long, that's probably why I haven't jumped rank.
Okay. That's not threatening. We already got a tourniquet here. There's a tourniquet under it. That's not threatening.
Alright, so that's it on this video. That's all they see. Again, I haven't found anything from the Missouri City Police. I'll try and do some more searching, but it's not looking promising. So, not much else to say on this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.